Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is that you're listening. We're back with another episode of All Things Mysterious. I'm Jordan.
I'm Matt.
And today, I have a totally different kind of episode for you today that was inspired by a listener. So, when I ran this episode by Matt, he was like, well, okay.
First time that we're talking about a topic that I don't know much about.
Even admits he doesn't know. But
I'm still going to debunk you somehow. I don't know how, but I will.
Not a whole lot to debunk on this one. It's kind of a weird one. But like I said, it was inspired by a listener in the weirdest way. But basically, one of our listeners messaged me after I posted on our Facebook asking for ideas. And he was joking around with me. Like, you should do an episode on yours. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a mystery. So probably not the greatest idea. Because I'm a pretty open book. But I was thinking about it. And I was like, actually, in a weird way, I kind of am a mystery, because I have a medical condition that is a mystery, because I just like to be all sorts of complicated. And so I got to thinking.
That's the truth.
I got to thinking, and I was like, what if I did an episode on medical mysteries? Because there's all sorts of medical conditions out there that are just weird, that don't make sense, that defy all sorts of weird rules of nature. And Matt's just like sitting there.
My eyes are already glazing over.
He's like, I don't know what to do with this episode.
I really don't. Like, I got, kind of got it in my head, like, before we start recording, and kind of like almost like a script of stuff I can make fun of you about. And
there's plenty you can make fun of me about in this episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I feel off because I don't know the topic. At least most everything that you've done so far, I at least have a general idea of what it is.
I like this episode already because I feel like I've like one-upped you.
Don't worry. Paybacks are hell.
You've already given me so much payback. You've started this is my payback to you.
Well, just wait till you record my episode thing.
Oh. Don't do that. So, rude. First of all, rude. But the first medical mystery I'm going to tell you about is actually like myself. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my condition. Kind of what happened to me as like a segue into their medical mysteries, because my condition is rare, but it is nothing like rarity of the other medical conditions that I'm going to tell you about. My condition is like on a low rarity spectrum. What?
I was just trying to hit the fast forward button.
Matthew!
That was the only one I had, so.
You're annoying.
Carry on.
You're annoying. But I have a condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension. And the word idiopathic in itself just means that there's no known cause. No known cause. Doctors have no idea what to do with it. No idea what causes it. Nothing. About a year ago, I went to the doctor because I was having some blind spots in my eyesight, and that's a little bit terrifying, by the way. And my doctor was like, that's definitely not normal. You should see an eye doctor. So I went to see an eye doctor, and if you've ever been to a doctor and the actual doctor themselves start to act a little bit panicked, then you also should know that that's not a good thing.
Ain't that the truth?
When you go to the doctor and they start acting panicked, that's not good. It's not a fun thing when everyone's usually calm and, okay, you're going to need to go to do this. No, when they start acting panicked, they're like, you need to go to a specialist right now. I was like, okay, I'll go in a little bit. They're like, no, you need to go to the specialist right this second. Oh. Oh, okay. Went to a specialist. Specialist also panicked. Also not a fun thing to experience with specialists starting to walk faster. They're starting to talk faster. And they're starting to, like, you know, mingle, talk to their colleagues. And they're like, okay, you need to go to the emergency room right now. There are words being thrown around like brain tumor. Panic. All the panic. I was like, this is not good. Went to the emergency room. They did an MRI, an MRA, which is just an MRI with contrast. Basically, they thought that I had a brain tumor, but I didn't. So what happened was my brain thought that I had a brain tumor, but I actually don't. Basically, and Matt finds a lot of fun with this, starting making faces.
I'm not.
He is.
I'm being good.
You can
over
hear
here.
it in his voice. I know you can hear it. My brain thinks that I have a brain tumor so hard that I have physical symptoms of a brain tumor, and I'll have it for the rest of my life. And there's no known cause of this at all. It mostly affects women. However, it also does affect men and children, but there's no reasoning behind it. A lot of neurologists believe that birth control is the cause, or hormones, but that can't be the cause of it, because men and children also get this condition. So it's just really bizarre. But when our listener suggested that, I was like, well, let's look up some medical mystery, because there's no known cause for this. Like, there's so many people out there that suffer from this. I do. That makes your head feel like it's literally going to explode all the time, because I have excess spinal fluid in my brain 24/7 that feels like a sinus pressure headache all around my skull. Like, all around it, the base of my skull, all around. Makes my eyes feel like they're gonna pop out of my head.
You know those kids who have like imaginary friends who they're convinced is real?
Sure.
Jordan's like, hold my beer.
Pretty much. I imagined something so hard, and I didn't even imagine it. My brain was just like, you know what? Mental illness, I'm going to take that to the next level. But there's a lot of people out there who suffer from this, and it causes memory issues. It's really fun on the podcast.
To be fair, I mean, your memory issues weren't the best before.
No, they weren't. It wasn't that great to begin with, and then it was like, oh, hey, here's some more. And obviously blindness. But thankfully we restored my vision. That was nice. But it got me thinking, obviously, all these other people who doctors can't figure out either.
Sorry, hold on. I just thought about something. Like, you know, if you did lose your vision, how horrible that would be for you.
It would be so bad. I mean, you've seen me just try to walk like a normal human being with vision.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about then you would have to get like the computer or whatever that speaks stuff for you, like for the computer.
Bad.
You don't want to listen to me, so you're not going to sit there and listen to a computer. It'd be like your personal hell, just having to wait for the computer to talk to you to tell you what's on the screen.
It'd be so bad, though.
You'd be literally like, I don't need your help. I can figure it out myself.
I'm far too independent. It would not go well. And you guys, like, anybody who knows me in person, I'm so uncoordinated. I would fall flat on my face every 10 seconds. And I'm just like, it would be so bad.
Plus, you cannot multitask worth hell, so you would not.
It would be so bad.
You cannot listen to this computer or listen to a driver, and listen and type at the same time.
No, and like the typing mistakes would be so bad. The computer would be like reading it back to me, and it'd be like, "No, this does not make any sense. Stop it."
Listen to the computer, not even listen to the driver anymore.
Oh
man, it'd be funny to watch, but
it would be funny to watch for a while until you guys eventually just felt bad enough for me. It would be just a nightmare.
Wow.
It'd be an absolute nightmare.
You'd be entertained. Well, I'll let you go.
Oh, great. Thank you. Just entertainment now. Which is what the podcast is. It's entertainment, but entertainment in a good way and not a bad way. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Tell you, my mind thinks of weird stuff, and I just thought about that. I know you, and I know how, like, there's times where you don't even listen when someone's talking to you.
That's true.
And especially when
I don't know how many times you've been like, Jordan, I'm trying to get your attention. I've been trying to get your attention for 5 minutes. I'm like, huh?
Especially when you've got a thought. Like, I've literally seen you keep talking over somebody who's talking to you to finish your thought.
Thought process I'm trying to remember, and if I don't remember it, it will be gone forever. Gone forever.
Jordan would literally be fighting with the computer.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the first medical mystery that I have today. There's only, like, I think there's only 3 actual cases documented that I could find. Chimeras. You heard of chimeras before. I know we've heard of chimeras in the animal world, but people can actually chimeras as well.
Born with a lion head?
2 sets of DNA combined into one person, which actually isn't a medical mystery once we solve it, but it's a medical mystery at first. But it's super, super, super rare. Now, it might not be as rare as we think it is, because you have to obviously have DNA testing done to figure it out. But I have 2 of the cases all written out. So, in 2006, a mother named Lydia Fairchild did DNA testing for maternal and paternal tests for court. And, of course, the father was the father, but she was shocked to find out she was not the mother of the children that she literally birthed.
Solved this one already.
I'm sure people were like, what? So the courts were freaking out. The courts were like, we caught this woman in welfare fraud.
Why is that the first thing they go to?
That's always the first thing they go to. Everybody always assumes that people are trying to steal.
I mean, my first thought was the hospital fucked up and switched the babies.
Switched the kids,
yeah.
Right? Naturally. I mean, but 2, though?
Yeah.
I feel like that's also an improbable.
Here's a story. My oldest, when she was born. So the way that the hospital, at least here, works is you have a baby. They put a bracelet, one of those bracelets around the baby that has, yeah. Basically, it's supposed to go on their wrist, but obviously it put it on their ankle so that it doesn't come off. And it has, baby's name, the mom and dad's name, and then both
There's
parents.
There's like an alarm thing. At least there was for my nephew.
These one is like an RFD tags almost. But anyways, and this was a while ago, so they may have updated their technology.
There was for my nephew out of the hospital. Out.
Literally, like if the tag was lost on the parents, I mean, big deal. So my daughter's in the nursery. This was the first night they had to, second night. First night they had to pump her stomach out, but the second night is in the nursery, and they come back. The nurse comes into the room, panicked, like, we may have a problem. What? Like, your daughter's ankle bracelet. We can't find it. I'm like, hey, what? I mean, got to be somewhere. Right?
It doesn't just appear. Wouldn't think anyway.
When they were changing her onesie, apparently somehow it came off because they didn't put it tight enough. But they found it in blankets. They found it in the washer because they changed the blankets. So I make fun of my daughter all the time now. I'm like, I don't even know if you're mine. They lost your bracelet in the hospital.
Of course you would. Which one was that?
Brooklyn. Yeah. But point is like, Hospitals mess up a lot.
They do, and there are so many cases of kids being switched at birth in the hospital due to negligence, or, I mean, there's so many people in hospitals that work on complete sleep deprivation.
And I don't even think, like, a lot of it is intentional, or I think just a lot of it is just...
I'm sure a lot of it's accident.
Yeah, the systems they have just aren't that great.
Why I mentioned deprivation, 'cause I'm sure it's nurses are...
Yeah.
I know so many nurses come home and they're just absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
I can't blame them for that.
Oh, I can't either, especially working in a nursery.
Yeah, exactly. Dealing with babies all day. I mean, don't get me wrong, adorable. And while that's like, gosh, they're so cute, no, that's beyond tiring.
I mean, honestly, that was the only time we got sleep when she was in the nursery.
Yeah, but also dealing with that's...
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, back to the case.
Solved it.
She gave birth to a third child. And when that child was also DNA tested to be genetically not hers, they were like, hold up, this child we witnessed be born. Something ain't right here.
Hold on, the state was literally in the...
No, but the father was.
All right.
So, like, he knew, like, this child came out, like, something's not right. So, her defense team, or however that works, went through and did a crap ton of research. And figured out that chimeras exist. And they found out that chimeras exist by finding the other case that I'm going to tell you about today. But basically, chimeras exist by two eggs formed in utero. And it's not quite like when, like, absorb one another, because it's not like it's exact. So basically, especially in her case, it's not just like having two sets in all of your DNA. So if they do like a cheek swab, you only get one set. You don't get the DNA of both of them. They get one set. So they did a DNA test of, I believe, like her cervix, and that matched the DNA of her children, which is completely bizarre. And she ended up obviously winning her case, and that set a whole slew of different precedents. I don't even know if that's the correct.
So it wasn't her kids, it was her.
It was a chimera, and there are so few cases of completely bizarre. But the case that they found, and can you imagine like that being like, hold up, I knew I gave birth to these children. You were telling me they don't belong to me?
Let me tell you how I think about giving. I don't.
Because you're a man.
And I definitely would not. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It definitely would be. I mean, it'd be worse than like if I learned that my daughters weren't my daughters.
And that's why I did these. The third was a man who discovered that his kids weren't his. But in a way, I feel like there's a lot more obvious ways that could be turned around, and they figured out that he was a chimera as well. But anyway, this woman, her name was Karen, in 2002, had testing done to see if she was a match to donate a kidney to one of her sons. And through all that testing, because I guess her other sons were also going to see if they could test, they were all adults, found out that 2 out of 3 of her sons did not share her DNA. And basically the same thing happened.
Was it the 2 that she didn't like?
I did not get that far. I have no idea if she liked them or not. But basically the same thing happened. They were freaking out. She was like, no, I gave birth to these children. Like, I don't believe she was able to donate a kidney, though. Obviously, she didn't. I don't think. match.
I mean, DNA won't be even if they shared DNA, it doesn't necessarily mean match.
No, but I don't think he was a match for.
I was gonna say, it's kind of weird that they checked her DNA anyways for a kidney transplant. I mean, you can donate a kidney to a complete stranger.
And I don't really know why there was a DNA test done on that, but
That's
it
suspicious.
wasn't. I don't think it was in. It was slightly suspicious.
Sounds like the dad had concerns.
Maybe the dad did have concerns. Maybe they didn't look like her. I mean, it was a complete different set of DNA, so they might not have. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's just like it seems like the dad just set this whole elaborate ruse up just to get her DNA tested.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because otherwise, I mean, you don't need to be a DNA match to, other stuff like blood type, other stuff that I have no idea anything about, but I know it had nothing to do with DNA because
I don't even know type if I'm.
AB positive.
I think one time I was really high school. I think they did some. I think I knew type. I don't. I feel like I'm. Oh.
Surprisingly, that's how a lot of people find out that they're adopted.
Oh, I know, right?
There was
I think that you're doing something in like biology.
Like there's, if both parents are A,
yeah, then your
kid can't be.
Yeah, exactly. And then like kids come back and they're like, "But I'm this."
Oh, no joke. When I was in school, there was literally somebody we were talking about DNA, or blood types and stuff, and a kid I think found out that he was adopted. Because the teacher's like, yeah, if your parents have have blood type A, then you can't have blood type B, and still be their kid. Like he's like, my parents are both A, and we even did the thing where we test our own blood.
Yeah.
The little like science kit they have. He found out he was B.
I feel like that's something I don't remember. It was a long time.
It's pretty cool.
33 years.
Of course, I don't know how accurate those things are. I mean, it's not like it was an actual test.
Exactly.
A little high school experiment type thing. But I forgot what we were talking about.
I don't know. I'm on to the next one.
No. Tamara, I mean, I'm
not necessarily a medical mystery. Medical mystery because I mean, I'm sure at the time when you give birth to a child and then find out later in life that they don't share your DNA, I'm sure that that's an absolute what the actual hell is happening. There's only like 3 known cases.
thought that it was a lot more than that, but maybe I've watched too much House.
Well, and that's known case at this
Yeah. I mean,
confirmed.
See, my thing is like always go with the simplest explanation.
And it could have been birth or something.
No. And to me, it doesn't seem like they rule any of that out. Like the defense team, which that's another reason I have a hard time believing it.
Well, and that's the thing is there was a lot of research done that I didn't necessarily hear.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that none of
They
it.
very well could have.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that they're lying, but anytime lawyers are involved, I kind of get hesitant to believe either side because all they care about is, winning their case for their client. And, it's not like they're unheard of where they'll, lie or, try to bend the narrative to fit their, what they're,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's anytime you add lawyers to it, it's get muddy really quickly.
I agree, but apparently this has been a study for doctors a while now. So anyway.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Nope, I'm not done yet.
Why are you not done?
Because we got to pad the episode.
You don't have to pad the episode. I have plenty more.
One last thing. With 3 known studies, I mean, they can't really do a study on that. 3 people is not a big enough group.
Not necessarily that, but they could. How the DNA fits on her, how it feels. that because obviously some part of it is. So what parts of her are different DNA? Obviously, got to be
That's a
uterus or ovary.
that's a more interesting part to me. If
It is. It's fascinating. Like,
well,
and on Karen, what parts of her are a chimera?
yeah, because I mean, theoretically, if they got different DNA, like the body should start attacking itself.
No, but instead they not naturally occurring.
I wonder if they have like
It's fairly common in animals. Like I know, trade like reptile trade. So reptile person don't have any anymore. But it is a huge deal. Reptile trade. If you happen to come across one, it happens more commonly. But in people, apparently, it's really, really uncommon, which is weird. And what I'm thinking is it probably happens a lot more often and don't know.
probably. Unless you had to go get DNA tested, how would they know?
That's exactly it. Like we don't DNA testing all that often. If we do, it's just one source. It's not like
And
we take sources from the body.
just think, I mean, how many like, let's say, you know, mother and father have doing a paternity. Let's say, you know, because let's be real, there's a lot of guys who don't want to be
there's
dads.
a lot.
So like, how many of them got a negative paternity test? You know, how many of them would actually fight to have another one done, or you know, figure out? So I mean, also we could have tested a million chimeras and just not known about it.
Yeah, there's a clue of it.
I mean, if I had to take a DNA test and said that my daughters weren't mine, I'd be getting like 5 billion tests because they actually like me.
Both of them. Both of them. They're very cute.
Yeah, they definitely didn't get that from me.
Okay, are you ready to go to the next one, finally?
Yes. No, not yet.
Matthew?
Good.
You aware that you can be allergic to water?
Actually, I know this one.
Very, very rare. There are 37, but people live like water. Because if you think about it, and I was looking at it, basically it produces hives. It produces like a burning, itching sensation that takes up to like 2 or 3 hours to go away. But they are allergic to their own sweat, their own tears, their own like bodily fluids. So when they shower, if they decide to shower, every shower is straight toward. So a lot of them, if they shower at all, it's just straight horrible, everything awful. So a lot of them, 37 no confirmed case. Shower with like alcohol-based cleansers. Apparently it usually hits around age, tends to affect a lot more out of the 30s. But like, just think about that. Every time that water hits your
After
burning, and you really drink water, a lot of them, I guess, dead. It's
I
that's
drink
just
alcohol.
a lot of them suffer from hydration, but they have to live in places, have to control the environment, but have to be careful, but if at all.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Body's alert.
Well, no, I get that. I get the allergic to water. But if you're already dehydrated, you're not gonna necessarily I don't know. just never thought that as wet as water.
Years. So like just think about your skin. Everything about like everything hurts and you're about to cry because everything is full, and then you're gonna cry because everything is hurting, burning, and then your tears burn you even further. That would just be horrible. There's
Okay, so that's
no
another
cure
thing
for that or any.
that's the other thing that just because think about it, the water's already inside your body, so why isn't it constantly hurting them?
It's something to do with it being against. So I actually kind of looked at this a little bit because I was also confused, but it's something to do with it being against the skin. Because being inside the body doesn't seem to affect it as much. But I was also confused because I was really surprised that this was as empathic, my condition, because there doesn't a known cause for it aside from the fact that but they can't discover like what it is about the water, what it is on the skin that triggers the allergy aside from the fact that they are allergic.
Isn't this the one that they were starting to lean towards it's more like almost a mental health thing?
I could find.
There was something similar to this where it was thought that it was like your body manifesting like mass hysteria.
No, there was one that I looked up that was an issue under the skin that I think that you're thinking. And I can't remember what it's called because it was a real weird name that I was not going to pronounce, which is part of why I did not put it in my episode because, sorry, but I've already mispronounced so many things that I wasn't going to. Okay. But it was having a sensation of like itching underneath, like constantly. And that was one I thought about with a mental. But, and that one I can kind of understand. It's like a constant feeling of like bugs crawling underneath, which is really creepy. Oh, thank you. And there is no cause for that as well. However, they are leaning towards it being. This one, there is a very real physical cause to it, and you can visibly see rashes and the hives, and
I mean,
you can see.
So it could be mental. I mean,
Could be, but there's plenty of doctors realize that very real deal.
I mean, literally, there's cases of people and having mass hysteria who their body literally shuts down. Yeah, that's one of the ones that I was
kind of
thinking
want to do
about.
an episode. Or
But there's also that case out of California. She had cancer, went to the emergency room. They took blood, and it like blood was like odd, and then ended up the nurses got really sick, like several of them. A couple even spent time in ICU. One of the nurses had where her bones were starting to die and decay.
that sounds really.
Gloria Ramirez.
Oh yeah, didn't have yeah. No, I do remember that woman who was.
Yeah. I mean, she obviously had a condition, but like, yeah, there's a bunch of nurses who said the blood smelled what was it, fruity garlic?
Yeah, something.
But point of it is, which now I want to do now. Point of that
Probably
is,
should.
mass hysteria. Well, I mean, that's what they're calling it, is mass hysteria. Obviously, there could be a cause for that, but
A hard time.
I mean, we know that obviously, well, you're talking about the dancing fever thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that that's pretty. And mass hysteria is basically just a group of symptoms with no known or no, you know.
True, but there's only 37 known there across the world. So I have a hard time believing 37 people have been diagnosed by doctors with the same list of common symptoms. You know, doctors and physicians have diagnosed them with it with physical proof.
I mean, I'm not saying that, you know, it's a form of mass hysteria or anything. Obviously, definitely not mass. But my point is that the mind is a powerful thing. I mean, it can literally manifest inside your body.
Proof of that,
Yeah.
trust me. Trust me when I say that I know about that. My brain decided it had a freaking brain tumor, even though I don't. And then it was like, hey, guess what? Think that you so hard you have the rest of your that you have to take meds for all day, every day, so that you don't go.
One thing, that's one reason I like medical stuff is because it is fascinating. Like cancer.
Yes, it's so fascinating.
Cancer, for instance. You know, obviously cancer is bad, but the way it, like, how it's just your body cells that end up mutating, you know, into the cancer.
Yeah, it's like your body goes again.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I've always like the mystery of it. Not enough to like sit there and look.
Not enough to actually look into it, though.
I mean,
But no, I get it.
I'm very, I guess, squeamish when it comes to like medical stuff. It's not that I like I don't have a problem with blood and stuff necessarily, but like,
Judging by how you've described gore in many of our episodes, obviously.
but literally, like, there's, whenever I see like, you know, one of the medical TV shows, like when they're cutting into someone, especially like their neck, like I literally have like visible, like, you know, it actually hurts me.
I do okay until anything happens to eyeballs.
Eyeballs is another one.
Eyeballs I can't handle.
The inside of the arm.
I do really good until anything happens to eyeballs, in which case I absolutely not. And then naturally something happened to my eyes, and I was like, great, cool, this is awesome, thanks.
It's just certain stuff for me. Like the neck is really big for me. The side of your arms, the back of my legs, you know, anything like that like really, like, I don't know, freaks me out.
Of course it is.
But yeah, eyeball too. Everything else doesn't really bother me as much. That's why I don't watch a whole lot of medical shows.
Really like
Only one I really watched was House.
liked how
He was. He's
Smart
my hero.
asshole.
Yeah.
asshole.
New Amsterdam was good. Never got into like Grey's Anatomy and stuff. That seemed like it was more about
Everything else, the doctor stuff. I actually did like the doctor stuff. I'm sure it wasn't very real, but it actually.
If I had to pick one, I'd, you know, out of like my least favorite medical shows, I'd probably choose Chicago Med over Grey's Anatomy. Just because the characters are more likable.
All right, fair enough. Well, the last one that I have, probably the saddest one, but it's also the most, I think it's the most intriguing.
If I know you, which I do.
This is gonna be good.
No, I know. I almost guarantee this has something to do with children. In some way.
Yes. Just one.
I knew it. And this is not scripted because I did not know what.
It's not scripted.
but
We
I
don't
know-
share any of this
Yeah.
before the show.
I literally know Jordan so well that I knew at least one of these stories was going to have to do with kids. She does this to me every freaking week.
But it frustrates you, and it's great.
Go on.
So once you have a kid, right? you have a baby and you plan the baby's life out, right? More or
No.
less. You think around a year they're going to start to walk and talk. Eventually, plan on them going to school. And you'll help them learn to read and write. They'll make friends. You'll have their friends over for play dates, and you'll take them over for play dates with their friends. Eventually, will begrudgingly allow them to learn to drive. Maybe even go on dates. Graduate high school, college.
I have no idea where this is going.
This little girl, her name was Brooke Greenberg, was born.
I had to name her Brooke.
I didn't name her that. But she never aged.
Okay, this one's not bad.
No, it wasn't horrible. Her body stopped aging around 12 months old.
Yeah, there's that one what
That
is
TLC show.
yes.
Yeah. But
The
she stopped
creepy one.
aging around like what, 8 years or 9 years old?
I
Yeah.
don't know anything about it except for that like old guy, well not old, but same age as her technically. But it looks like he's dating a child and it's really weird.
Except she actually did go through. This little girl literally stopped aging, been cognitively for the most part, around 12 months. The only thing that really seemed to grow were her hair, her nails. That was it. 20 years was 12-month-old child.
Okay, I want to take back what I said. This is pretty bad.
For 20 years, her parents care of a 1-year-old.
That would be hell. That's like the word.
20.
That's like, I'm sorry, like anybody who has kids understands this, but 1-year-old is like the worst time for
Well,
a kid.
and like she never really could walk, so she had to be carried everywhere. She couldn't really talk. Did get her teeth.
Hold on, you said 20 years,
Got to be
and I take a
passed away. She did have some other health concerns. I knew she had was like 5 months. But aside from that, the doctor said that shouldn't have had any issues with anything. It did not have issues with any of the growth plates, brain, nothing. Because up until she hit about a year, she grew just fine. She grew perfectly normal. And then she just stopped.
a horrible life.
Be really rough. I just can't imagine like her family. I mean, I found like YouTube videos of documentary. Like she was really happy. I mean, it didn't have the cognitive function of what you would anyone older than
12
a
months.
year. Yeah. Would, my nephew is 9 months. He'll, move his arms to you if he wants to go to you. Kind of, we call it a pterodactyl scream. Not in a, like, I'm unhappy way, but just happy. He'll smile and happy kid. But that's more or less what her baby was. And
Would be like,
yeah,
I mean, on
all
both
of her
ends.
younger than outgrew.
Okay, obviously I feel sorry for the child. But those parents, that must have been like, okay. There's one thing you said at the beginning where you plan out everything for your kid. That lasts until the baby's born. Maybe.
The way you do, but you expect a certain
yeah.
amount of
But then that's why I said
a life for your child.
reality versus expectation type thing.
You plan out a certain life for your. You expect a certain life for your child.
It's like those TikTok videos that young girl comes on and says, when I have kids, they're gonna have rules. And then the
Yeah.
actual moms on there are like, yeah, my kids have rules. They don't play on tablets. They clean up after themselves while they're sitting on the couch playing tablet.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that was my only issue with this. You don't really plan. You just basically try to survive.
Maybe plan wasn't the right word, but you have a certain expectation. I mean, you know they're eventually going to go to. You know,
hope.
at some point, probably that they're going to get their driver's license.
That was literally.
They're probably going to go to prom at some.
Oh, we're done. We're not going that far. My favorite, like my best, like most, not like the happiest, but like the most relief I ever had was when Bailey first went to kindergarten. Just because both kids were in school and away from
Out of the house.
Don't get me wrong, I love my girls, I really do. I'd love to spend every minute with them.
But at the same time, it's like, oh.
Nice. I mean, when I'm away from them, I'm thinking about them and I miss them. But then, like 5 minutes after I get home, I'm just like, will you be quiet for 2 seconds?
No, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely not. They won't.
But yeah, I mean, anyways, what I was getting at, 12 years old, or 12 months old is like literally, for me, like, okay, obviously newborn is probably the worst stage, because you got to be gentle and you can't like throw them. Like the other thing is, when the TikTok, when the dad's like throwing the babies in the air and catching them, that starts, you 6 months to a year after you
Do that. Do that with my.
yeah.
We're gonna throw him in the, toss him, and my arms are tired.
But newborn, they're so tiny and so fragile, and then when they start getting older, and then 1 years old, they kind of, obviously you get the cake and you got to smash their head in the cake.
Obvious.
That's tradition. I still got the video of my doing it on Brooklyn. I showed her that the other day, and she looks at me. She's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Just watch it." And it's me putting her head in the cake. She's like, "Daddy, that is so mean. Why did you do that?" I'm like, it's tradition, and it was funny. She's like, "No, it's not." Yeah.
Because you're gonna.
But like, I could not imagine 20 years of the 1-year-old stage. Like, I don't think I could handle the 1-year-old stage now. And my girls are older. Like the worst stage ever. Like, because 1-year-old, is right before the terrible twos.
Yep.
But for my girls, they were literally, their terrible twos were their terrible ones.
I believe that.
They were actually, they didn't really have like terrible twos. I mean, it literally was like terrible ones. Yeah,
that was their terrible ones.
And now they're like, Brooklyn's 9 going on 15 with the attitude. Bailey's so emotional and drama queen. But yeah, like, I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at, like, that's kind of 1-year-old is kind of like when their personalities kind of start showing through.
Well, and it's really funny because like articles that I read, the body of a 5-year-old, I just don't feel like that's right. So I looked at the document. Had some YouTube. No, she literally was in a crib. Never got past in a crib, roller, being carried all the time. Couldn't talk.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So like, when they would go out like shopping and in public and stuff, her mom and her whoever else, they would be, they'd be shopping and people would ask, "Oh, how old is she?" They would take, and they would just, so but I get it. It's going to be a lot easier. Well, actually, my daughter is 17 years old, but she's never grown past about 12 months. So actually 17 years old, and people aren't going to realize it, but what do you do at that point?
Whole thing. Don't like it.
But you know what? From what I saw, she looked like a happy kid. Even though she was 20 years old, and she was old enough, not necessarily cognitively, obviously, but old enough technically to have a driver's license at that point.
Yeah, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but...
Not a heartbreaker.
Yes, you are.
Terrible.
Yes, you are.
Not the most horrible person ever.
When it comes to this, yes, you are.
That bad? Good God.
You literally try to find cases that make me mad.
I mean, yes, I do, but for this case and for this purpose, I didn't feel like being that terrible. But they really did never figure out why. Because aside from the fact that she stopped growing, I mean, hair grew, but they couldn't figure out why. She had some stomach issues, had some respiratory, but nothing that should have stopped.
I mean, it's got to be kind of like, I mean, you know, whatever from the TLC.
I mean,
got to be similar disease.
Would think so, but like, I mean, they had MRIs from every year at the very least, and it was bizarre because her MRI never changed.
Well, I mean, 1 year old, that like, if their growth just stops, they're not gonna grow. That's development phase. So I mean, it doesn't really it's not surprising that her MRIs never changed. If she stopped growing, she's not gonna grow in anyway.
Would think so, but like, I think they were hoping that they could find some as to why she stopped developing. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, which is good because probably ever should be doing.
Next, you actually got to listen.
I can listen and choose not to a lot of the time, but I can't.
You choose not to all the time.
I choose not to.
I don't know how many times I've heard you on the phone talking to a driver, and like by the time you're done with the conversation, you have no idea what they're actually calling about.
Took care of it first. Fine.
A lot of times you wait after a 20-minute conversation, and you're like, oh, by the way, why'd you call?
And then they were like, oh, you already took care of it. I'm like, oh, great, thanks. Good, I'm glad.
I honestly bet a lot of them call in and just say that just to mess with you.
There's a solid chance that's happened before. Fine, though. It's perfectly fine. So, anyway, let us know how you felt about this really different little episode. Feedback would be appreciated. All of our social media is below in the description. We would appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe.
As always, we keep you guessing.